look at Selenium tool. What is Selenium, what are the advantages, limitations, and what are the tools that are offered by Selenium. So before we start looking at Selenium, let's look at the testing pyramid. Okay, so this is a testing pyramid where you have unit test, integration test, and your UI end-to-end test. So if you understand the testing pyramid, the maximum coverage should be in the unit and integration test. The UI and end-to-end form a very small part of automation because it is expensive, it is costly. These are long tests and flaky tests as well. Also, these can be executed only when the entire development is complete, because it covers the real user flows. Okay, so Selenium is a part of the UI end-to-end test. You don't automate everything in Selenium, but the most important user flows. These are also critical, but unit and integration test is where the maximum testing coverage should be there, so that you catch the bugs early. Okay, when you catch bugs at this level, it becomes expensive, it's costly to fix, it's too late, it takes time, and also can affect milestones. Okay, so here in the UI section is when you do Selenium and Playwright. Selenium is widely used, Playwright is catching up, and there are a lot of other tools also which we use for end-to-end testing. So what is Selenium? It's an open source automation testing tool, because you don't have to pay it, you can just download it off the net. Okay, it's primarily used for web application, not for desktop or mobile apps. For desktop you have something called as UFT1, and mobile apps you have APM. So all these are used for testing. Web application you'll use Selenium. Okay, support multiple languages, so there are many languages that are supported. And it's very important that when you plan to learn automation using Selenium, you should be comfortable with these programming languages. In fact, you should understand these, you should be able to write code in Java before, if you want to do Selenium with Java, before you start learning Selenium. Because you will not be only writing Selenium code, you will be also playing around with the data, right, parsing the data and all. So it's important to be proficient in these languages. It works on all major browsers, and it is community driven because it's free. So there's a lot of support for any issues that come into Selenium. So you can refer the website here. Here you can see all the browsers that are supported. So each of the vendor provides you a driver which will communicate with the browser to do the automation. Okay. This was the ecosystem, and also the languages. You can see the languages that are supported. Okay, and in Selenium there are, it's not one tool, but it provides you multiple tools. So currently we have Selenium WebDriver, IDE, and Grid. So we'll look at it in detail in a while. And what are the advantages? No license cost, cross browser testing, so the same website can be tested on different browsers. And what we saw, multiple languages, multiple platforms, so you can test it on Windows, Mac, or Linux. Also Selenium Grid allows you to test parallelly on different browsers and different machines, and a large community support and integrations which can be used. The limitations: web application only can be automated using Selenium. If you want reporting, etc., you have to use a testing framework which includes TestNG, Extend Report, etc. Steep learning curve, because you will have to learn a programming language, then understand how Selenium works, and over time you will be able to understand it. Again, some complex elements, capture, etc., doesn't work properly with Selenium, and it relies on third-party tools for image and visual testing. So this is basically about an overview about Selenium. So now we look at the different components of the Selenium suite. So now let's look at the different tools that are offered by Selenium. We have the Selenium IDE, Selenium WebDriver, and the Selenium Grid. So Selenium IDE is basically a record and playback tool. You don't require any programming, but it's very flaky and basic, and you can't use it for real automation or for large projects. Okay, so if we look at it, there are some extensions provided for Chrome and Firefox. So for these two browsers, Okay, you can download the extension and use it. So I will just show a demo in Firefox. I already have the extension and I'm going to automate this page. Very simple. We'll do a scenario. Okay, record a new test, say test1. Okay, and give the URL, start recording. Okay, so it opens the URL and then let me just click. Okay, okay, that's it, and let me just stop it. So I'll stop the recording and give it a name, say checkout. Okay, and now I can just run it. Okay, whatever steps I executed, it has recorded it and it will play it. So you can see something simple as this, but it's not really useful when you want to do something complicated, real workflows, and you have to actually click. So this doesn't work for big projects, but for simple ones, if you want to run something, some scenario, some basic prototyping you want to do, you can do it using IDE. Okay. And the next one is Selenium WebDriver. This is what we'll see in detail in the coming up tutorials. So this is a core component used today. It interacts directly with the browser using browser drivers, more powerful, flexible and faster than IDE. So we have the client libraries, whichever programming language you choose. You will invoke the WebDriver. Each of the window will give you a driver, a Chrome driver or a Gecko driver for Firefox, and then you have the browser which you want to automate, right? So using W3C protocol, you communicate with the drivers, and the driver uses HTTP request and response for communicating with the browser. So this is basically for Selenium 4. Before Selenium 4, we had JSON protocol, but with W3C protocol, it's more standardized and the flakiness has reduced a lot in Selenium 4. Okay. So Selenium supports automation of all the major browsers in the market through the use of WebDriver. It is an API and protocol that defines a language neutral interface for controlling the behavior of browser, and each browser is backed by a specific WebDriver implementation called a driver. The driver is a component responsible for delegating down to the browser and handles communication to and from Selenium and the browser. Okay, so this is what we saw in the diagram. And the last one, the last tool is Grid. So when you want to do parallel execution on multiple browsers, multiple OSs, and different versions of Chrome or Firefox, that is when you use Grid. So Grid works in the form of hub and nodes. Okay, so this is the hub, this is the hub, yeah, and this is the nodes. So you have a router. All the requests that goes here, it routes either to a session map if it's an existing session or a new session queue. Okay, session map will keep the mapping between the session and the nodes. You have an event bus for the communication between the different nodes, and distributor to distribute it to the different nodes. So this is Selenium Grid, and it is widely used in organizations for CI/CD pipelines because a lot of tests have to be run and for proper coverage with different machines, right? So you can run this in a standalone way, that is on a single machine, which will act both as a hub and node and run test on different browsers, or you can have it in an actual way where one machine is a hub and then it communicates with different nodes which run different OSs and browsers. Okay, so these are the different tools which are provided by Selenium, and depending on the requirement that you have, you will be using one of these. So with this we've completed the overview of Selenium, and now we'll start looking at how to use it. Okay.